The universe isn't testing you, it's talking to you. I want to speak to you about the number one thing that I see spiritually evolved, brilliant women who are doing all the things, meditating, journaling, doing all the healing, right? All the yoga, all the retreats. They're doing all the things and still they miss the magic that is already here. Because when we trust the universe and we're juggling motherhood, clients, growth, expectations, we're manifesting, we're meditating, we're journaling, and yet it still feels like Groundhog Day. It still feels like we're missing something. It still feels like we're unfulfilled. And this is what happens to the spiritually evolved woman is that she's somatically disconnected. Because when we're doing all of these things, when we're doing all of these things and we're bringing so much trust in the universe and we miss the memo because what we do is we're looking at it through a very singular gaze, and this is something that is really important, that we begin to open up this gaze, open up this perspective, and start really understanding how the universe is talking to us, right? So what do I mean by that? I say to my clients all the time, this is the number one thing that really comes up in my spaces in the somatic transformation practitioner training for those experiencing somatic transformation. A lot of the women have done a lot of spiritual work, right? But they still can't seem to get to where they want to go, but also it's this feeling like something is missing, right? And we can tell ourselves and we can convince ourselves that, yes, it's good, and I'll just meditate on it and do all of these things. However, what I say to my clients is we need to learn how to make love to the moment. We need to learn how to make love to the moment and moments, and we decide what we want. But what happens is we're so busy looking and analyzing and like spirit or universe, show me the signs, show me this thing. And the universe is saying, here it is, here it is. But we're missing the memo because the miracle arrives at the point it can be received, right? This is a quote from A Course in Miracles. And I love this quote because it is so absolutely true. And what happens when we're spiritually evolved is we forget that the miracle arrives at the point it can be received. What does this mean, Renee? What does this mean? So, what it means is the universe gives us whatever we need as an entry point to feel aliveness. So, say for example, it's coming up as resistance and fear, right? Or maybe you're even feeling unsafe. This this activates us into feeling alive, right? We're alive. Now, what happens is when we're spiritually evolved, is we say, oh, resistance is wrong, is bad, fear is bad. And we repel this fear and feeling unsafe. My goodness, my nervous system is going to be shot. I have to regulate my nervous system. And so then we might jump into a cold plunge, or we might go into an infrared sauna, or, whatever is spiritually correct. However, I'm going to flip that on its lid and say that that is the direct thing that you need. And literally, the universe is saying, this is your entry point. This is your entry point, and I'm gifting it to you on a silver platter, right? And we use what threads are coming into our reality to allow divinity to move through us. This is where most people get it wrong because, yes, they might be spiritually evolved, but they are somatically disconnected. So if you're doing all the things and you can, you're well versed in all the Sanscripts and, all the books, all the knowledge, and up to date on who's who and what's on trend at the moment in spirituality or personal development or self-help, even empowerment, even transformation. And so, but you're somatically disconnected. It doesn't matter what you do because the truth will move through the body. Divinity moves through the body, and we're shunning it and shaming it because we're going, resistance is wrong and resistance is fear. And I'm just going to like move away and I'll tap, 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 tap until this fear is transmuted, right? But yet, that is our entry point. That is the entry point into aliveness. So we use what we have, what is presented to us. That is what it means by working with and listening to the universe, right? Because the universe isn't punishing us. We're not wrong from feeling these things. The miracle arrives at the point it can be received. And if that is through fear, we all need aliveness, right? However, we are not conditioned, we're not embodied in aliveness. And there's a lot of spiritually evolved people who are somatically disconnected. And that doesn't matter. You can do all the yoga in the world, right? You can turn yourself into a pretzel and still be somatically disconnected because somatically disconnected is really about making love to the moment. It's about using whatever the spirit and the universe gives us and making love to that as our entry point to melt into our divinity, right? So, say, for example, in a practitioner training, and we're using, and a client feels resistance or fear, right? As a practitioner, as a somatic transformation practitioner, we're not going, we just need to transmute this fear so I can get on with this transformation. We just need to like jump on through these hoops and move past this resistance. We use the resistance, we use the fear as an entry point, right? Because that is what's honest and that is what's true. And that way we can have a very real and very open, and we can make love to like, okay. All of a sudden, fear when we don't shame it, or resistance when we don't shame it, it feels really like we're safe havening, right? Automatically, I'm not wrong from feeling this. When we're not wrong, when we don't make ourselves wrong from feeling something, all of a sudden you feel the energy shift, right? All of a sudden it's like, okay, we give ourselves permission to feel, what is this resistance? Yeah, I do feel a little bit unsafe. And then all of a sudden our energy and our hearts and our minds, all five bodies open up. You feel it soften, right? And then automatically we feel less resistant, less fear, and we can begin to feel safe, right? And this is the most important and crucial piece of information that I could ever pass on to you is your aliveness isn't a reward. It's your path. It's not a destination. It's something that we decide and we choose moment to moment. And we honor the aliveness because aliveness will come into our field whether we like it or not, because we need it, right? But whether it comes through fear or resistance, or whether it comes through joy and pleasure and decadence and the yum, that's up to us. Right. And so the more we melt into our aliveness, then we change the miracle. And when we alter the miracle, we alter that. Remember, the miracle arrives at the point it can be received. We're upping that point, right? We're upping that miracle and how we receive it because we're open. So it won't always, the miracle won't always arrive through fear or resistance. It can be presented in some really epic, amazing, joyful, pleasurable experiences, right? So honor your aliveness and don't reward yourself when I tick all this off my to-do list and then I'll feel alive and then I'll honor my aliveness. We embody our aliveness. We integrate our aliveness. We integrate divinity and aliveness, however it's presented and organically presenting itself in our field, in our five bodies, in this moment. And we decide to honor our aliveness, and we bring our aliveness to tick all those things off the to-do list, right? We bring aliveness into every moment. And when we do this, we're compounding our aliveness and we're amplifying this miracle because we are the miracle. So we stop looking for signs and we are the sign. This is the ultimate of standing in your power. And it comes down to honoring whatever is alive and presented to us in this moment. It's incredibly exciting. It's something that I'm very passionate about. So I hope that this has helped you because this is something that comes up in my spaces all the time. Trust the thread that is presented to you and use that as an entry point, no matter what it is, even if the whole spiritual world, even if society says that you shouldn't feel these things and it is wrong and you're not spiritual if you're feeling this, I call bullshit. That is not the case. We trust what divinity and the universe and spirit present to us. And you watch as soon as you do, instantly things are going to shift. So just maybe you have to actually get off the yoga mat and stop being so spiritually evolved and start connecting to yourself somatically and making love to all moments. And I promise you, you'll have a very different experience. I hope this helps. If you want to stay connected, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with your friends because this work matters. This work matters. I'm going to drop a link below to our Overflow Era Blueprint, our somatic wealth blueprint. You can do that for free. It's amazing and it'll help you in your soul path. But that is me over and out. I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.